If you look
Okay.
at the chat box from your phone or your tablet, you can see the lecture notes for today. They are on the screen.
Okay. All right.
Today we are dealing with what we call every law is divided into four parts.
Mm.
The four parts of every law is called preliminary provision, the first, principal provisions, miscellaneous provisions, and final provisions. These are the
Mm.
four parts of every law. Now,
Okay.
under them, you have subdivisions. So today we're dealing with the principal provisions. Under
Okay.
the principal provisions, you have two major subheadings: substantive provisions, administrative provisions. Under
Mm.
administrative provisions, you have seven subheads. So these are things that the average lawyer would not know by copying precedents. He doesn't even know that these are the principles. This is how a bill is structured. There's a
Mm.
structure.
Mm.
The example we like to use is by attending this course, you become an engineer. But before this course, you're a mechanic in legislative drafting. A mechanic and an automobile engineer, both of them can repair a car. But the difference is that the automobile engineer knows the principles,
Assembly.
workings, the inner workings. The mechanic
Mm.
only knows trial and error.
Mm.
This is the
Okay.
purpose of this course, to
All right, sir.
improve your skills from a mechanic to an automobile engineer, from a
Mm.
bricklayer to becoming an architect in
Mm.
legislative drafting.
Mm.
So we're looking at the structure. Every bill has four parts. We have done preliminary. Now we're dealing with the principal provisions. Next week we deal with miscellaneous, and there is final provisions.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so the
All right,
notes
sir.
are in the chat box. Today we are having a discussion, revision. We have been doing principal provisions. Now we want to look at under principal provisions.
Okay, sir.
So we are going to start the way we normally start. Number one, Oscar, can you tell us what are under principal provisions? How many, what do we have? Yes, Mr. Oscar. Good. Okay, so Leto Bohu, can you tell us under what is substantive provision? You can check the chat box. We have put all this on the chat box. Chat box. What are substantive provisions? Leto Bohu, are you there?
Hello, Prof. I'm here, but unfortunately, my participation level is going to be very low. I'm actually on the road.
Okay, okay. All right. Now we're going to skip Olaruwaju, you're new. So let's go to Joyce.
I'm with you, sir.
Yes, if you check the chat box, what are substantive
Yes.
provisions in any law?
Provisions that introduce rights, privileges, powers, immunities of persons to be benefited or regulated.
Good.
So
Now
they
I
are
want you to do
provisions
something.
drafted
Look
as
for look for any law. Now, can you identify the substantive provision in any law? Pick up any legislation. Tell us which section
okay.
is the substantive provision.
The one that comes to my mind right now, the provisions on fundamental human rights in the Constitution.
No,
Yeah,
no.
it
Leave
sounds
the
to me.
constitution. Leave the constitution. Go
Okay,
for another law.
okay.
Pick up any law online. We'll give you time to do that. Tell us which
All
part
right.
of that law is the substantive provision. So, Joyce, you can move to the next part, administrative provisions. Yes, Joyce, you're not there again. Okay. Pete, Libby, can you come in?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yes, the administrative provisions are those provisions that when a piece of legislation seeks to establish a corporate body or a government agency or a corporation, this is where that legislation will include substantive provision. I mean, administrative provision. Just
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you. What's the general rule? Is it every legislation that establishes an agency?
no, sir. The general rule is that normally or usually the legislation will only include the substantive provisions unless that particular legislation seeks to establish the agency, the government agency. That is when the administrative provisions will be included.
Okay. So give us a real life example. Look at any law. Tell us the administrative provisions, where they begin. A, the powers, functions.
Yes, sir. Um, the
You're welcome. Yes. Yes.
I'm looking at the Communication Act of 2012, the Social Communication Act of 2012,
Okay.
and section 6. That is the section 3, part 2,
Okay.
establishes the
Okay.
let me quickly check. Okay, it is part 3, section 6 establishes. Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay, part 2, section 3 establishes the Lesotho Communication Authority,
Okay.
and the section 3 provides for perpetuation of the authority,
Okay.
and section 4 provides for the general duties of the authority.
Okay.
Section 5 provides for the general powers of that authority.
Okay.
In section 6 provides for the board of directors. It's part 3, organization and operation of the authority.
Okay.
These are the provisions.
Can you read the one that establishes the powers and functions? Just read. Let's hear the wordings.
The general duties of the authority. The powers and the functions. Let me quickly go through. I want to believe it's section 3, the one that says the Section 3 as established by the Lesotho Communication Authority Act of 2000 shall continue in existence. The authority shall remain corporate with the paper established.
Mr. Olaruwaju, please mute your mic.
Oh, is that for me? Oh, sorry.
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
I was on the Section 3.
Okay.
Okay, Section 4 I think is much more appropriate. It says general duties of the authority. The authority shall have the duty to A. Implement this act and any regulations or rules made under it. B. Facilitate new entry into the Lesotho communications market and the provisions of the new communication services, including converged communication services. C. Ensure the efficient and equitable allocation of finite resources necessary for the provisions of the communication services. D. Promote and preserve competition in the market for communication services. E. Protect the interests of consumers of communication services. F. Facilitate appropriate cooperation among licensees, including cooperative deployment and use of communications infrastructure. G. Facilitate the deployment of communications infrastructure and the provision of good quality communication services at reasonable prices throughout all areas in Lesotho, giving special consideration to the needs of end users who are low income, disabled, or located in underserved areas. H. Facilitate resolution of dispute regarding communication services. I. Promote Lesotho's participation in the global information
It's
society.
okay. It's okay. So we get the point. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
the section that the A part of administrative provisions.
Yes, sir.
Everything is spelled out, the functions. What will happen when you do not spell out these functions? Nigeria has two agencies that perform similar tasks. If not that, the law establishing them delineated the functions and the powers. So, for example, we have Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency. That is for internet, ISP. They are the ones who allocate domain names, internet, they regulate that aspect. Now, Nigeria also has Nigerian Communications Commissions Act 2003. So if these functions are not listed out, you will have agencies fighting each other for functions. In Nigeria, the sector where there is always a clash is the environment sector. Nigeria has many laws establishing many agencies, NOSDRA, NISDRA, all of them regulating the environment. But those laws did not specify the functions. For example, who should handle pollution arising from oil companies? It's supposed to be NOSDRA. NOSDRA. NESRA is supposed to handle other forms of environmental pollution. But because the laws are not well drafted, there's always clash. They're always fighting about their functions. So one needs to be clear on these functions. Otherwise, there will be problems. All right, so let's go to Kenoi. If you can discuss B under administrative provisions. What is the B part? The B says delineation of the powers and composition of the governing board. So can you give us a real life example?
Good afternoon, sir. Are you asking for the composition?
Yes, you're supposed to give us a real life example.
Okay, delineation for composition of governing board. Okay, sir. I'm looking at the Labor Act of 2024, sections 12 therein. It's the composition of the committee, because section 11 establishes the National Advisory Committee on Labor.
Okay.
And then sections 12 reads, the committee consists of an equal number of representatives of employers and workers, which shall not exceed 12 members from each constituency and shall be appointed by the minister. Subsection 2 reads, the minister shall appoint the chairperson of the committee from a representative of government. C, the minister shall appoint government representatives who shall not exceed 6 members. 4, the member appointed to represent the employers and workers respectively shall be nominated for appointment by a representative organization of employers and workers respectively. It just keeps going.
Good, excellent. Now, for those of you in Nigeria, there is an additional feature in Nigeria, section 14.3 of the, who can read for us? Sammy J, can you look at the Constitution? Section 14.3, read aloud. Let our colleagues hear what the Nigerian Constitution says. Section 14.3. Please confirm, can you hear me, Sammy J?
Yeah, I can hear you, but my constitution is not with me at the moment. I'm trying to search online for it.
Okay. Olaruwaju, Mr. Olaruwaju, can you also help to search for that? Section 14.3, Nigerian Constitution.
Okay. It says section 14.3 of the Nigerian Constitution.
14.3.
Section 14.3.
Yes.
It says that the government must ensure that no single ethnic, sectional, or state group dominates the government.
I say 14.3, sub 3. 1, 2, 3, 3.
Okay.
The provision, are you with me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
Yes, we are listening. Go ahead.
The provision says the composition of the government of the Federation or any of its agencies and the conduct of its affairs shall be carried out in such a manner as to reflect the federal character of Nigeria and the need to promote national unity and also to command national unity, by ensuring that there shall be no predominance of persons from a few states or from a few ethnic or other sectional groups in that government or any of its agencies. That's the provision of section 14.3 of the Constitution.
Thank you. So, for those of you who are new, how will that affect drafting of administrative provisions? If the government is establishing a federal government agency, what do you think that section 14.3, how would it affect the governing board of any federal government agency? If you look at our chat box under administrative provisions, it says B, delineation of the powers and composition of the governing board of the statutory corporation. A statutory corporation is an agency of government established by law, unlike companies that are established under CAMA, that is Companies and Allied Matters Acts. Any company, any organization that is established by statutes is called a statutory corporation. So under your administrative provision, B says delineation. Delineate means write out the composition of a governing board. How does section 14.3 affect your writing the composition of a governing board of a statutory corporation? Those of you who are new, what do you think would happen because of section 14.3? Yes. Yes. Okay, those of you that have been here, how can you explain this to the new people in our midst? Amino Elemi, you have been here for some time. How can you explain section 14.3 under administrative provisions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, sir. Please, sir, permit me to skip this question. I'm a little clueless as to the import because I've actually been trying to read the provision again, and I seem to be getting the same thing as the first person read. I didn't quite grasp the one as read by the previous speaker.
All right, thank
Pardon
you.
me, sir.
Mr. Ajulo Emmanuel, what can you say about section 14.3 when it comes to administrative provisions? You see, this is the difference between a mechanic and an automobile engineer. A mechanic will just copy precedent and draft a law without knowing these constitutional requirements. Section 14.3 is a constitutional requirement, and you know that the Constitution is the highest law in the land. So the Constitution has said whenever the composition of any federal government agency or statutory corporation must reflect the federal character. What is federal character? Nigeria has 6 geopolitical zones. So whenever you are creating a federal government agency, the composition of the governing board shall write that there shall be a representative from each of the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. It's a requirement of the Constitution. And you know that any law, section 1, sub 3 of the Constitution, any law that is in violation of the Constitution, that provision of that law is null and void. So if any law that establishes a federal government agency does not, in the composition of the board, it does not state that there shall be a representative from the 6 geopolitical zone, then that law, that section of that law, the blue pencil rule will be used to delete that section. So this knowledge you have as a drafter is different from the ordinary lawyer who does not know. He will just draft, establish an agency without complying with the provisions of the Constitution. So this is why you're attending a course, a formal training in legislative drafting, to improve your skills in drafting. This is what makes you an engineer. You know the inner workings behind, not just copying the precedent. All right. I take it that we now understand section 14.3 as it applies to administrative provisions in Nigeria. Nigeria has 6 geopolitical zones. Therefore, whenever you create a federal government agency in Nigeria, the board, the governing board must have a representative from the 6 geopolitical zones. It must be there in writing in the law under the administrative provisions, composition of governing board. It must be there in writing. All right. Any other? Let's move to C. C says delineation of the powers, qualifications of the chief executive officer and other principal staff, mode of termination of appointment. All right. So who can take on that? Use a real life example from the legislation. Who can give us an example from a real life? Okay, let's go to, we have called on Lekaka. Give us a real life example of a legislation that contains provisions for the powers, functions of the chief executive officer, and mode of appointment and termination. Yes, Lekaka. Yes, Libby.
Prof,
Yes.
multitasking here, and I'm trying to find a piece of legislation which is before me.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. My desk is a mess, but I'm sure I can find a piece of. Okay. So the question is with regards to issue of appointment and what, Prof?
The chief executive officer, appointment and the qualifications.
Appointment and qualifications.
Yes.
Okay. I think I should take it upon myself to find a piece of legislation next to me. Then, having done so, I will make it a point to raise my hand and answer you, Prof.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, Pete Levy, can you help us out?
Oh, okay, Prof. Let me. I'm still trying to go through the legislation to see if there is may I just have some time to go through the whole act, Prof?
All right. All right. Can you hear?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so section 15 of the same Labor Act of 2024 provides for the removal of a member from the committee. It reads that a member of the
No,
committee shall
we're
be
looking
removed
for
from.
the chief executive officer. There should
Okay.
be the procedure and the qualifications.
Okay, so this section is providing for the removal of a member of the committee.
No, let's look for chief executive officer. Every agency has a chief executive officer. What is the procedure for removal? The qualifications first, then the procedure for removal. Yes, Umaru Hana.
All right, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So I have here with me the Nigerian Data Protection Act of 2023.
Okay.
Then the appointment of the National Commissioner and other staffs of the Commission. So this is captured under section 14.
Your line is breaking.
subsection 2 says the National Commissioner shall hold a certification in data protection from a training body which is duly accredited in line with international best practices. And B, possess a 10
Hold
years.
on, hold on. Your line broke. You say he shall hold what?
Okay.
The National Commissioner
Subsection
shall hold what?
shall hold a certification in data protection from a training body which is duly accredited in line with international best practices.
Okay, okay. Now, it doesn't specify um, the level of the degree, whether bachelor or master's, right?
No, sir, it doesn't.
Okay.
Okay, sub B, then subsection B says he shall possess at least 10 years cognate experience at a senior management level in data protection, cybersecurity management, information and communications technology, comma, consumer protection, management science, or other relevant disciplines. I think
Excellent.
these are, yes, that's covered for that.
Yes, excellent. So that's the qualification. So it's not just.
May I continue?
Are there other qualifications?
Yes, sir.
Okay, read.
It's
Let's
up.
see.
Okay, and then subsection 3 goes to say a person appointed as a national commissioner shall not hold any other management position in a ministry, department, or agency of government, corporation, company, or other business establishment. Subsection 4 says the national commissioner shall hold office for a term of 5 years and may be reappointed for another term of 5 years and no more. And B, on such other terms and conditions as may be specified in the letter of appointment.
Okay. So
Yes,
this
sir.
this is tricky. It shouldn't be the letter of appointment. It should be as provided in an act of the National Assembly. So that's not good drafting because the letter of appointment can say something contrary to the act. The tenure is 5 years. Now, if the letter of appointment, they are trying to be mischievous, they now say he is appointed for 6 years, then it's a problem. I'm telling you based on real life example. I drafted the National Assembly Library Trust Fund. The it was funny because the then speaker was about going, but he wanted this person to be there, and he wanted the tenure to last longer than his own tenure. The law said 4 years, but in his letter of appointment, the speaker then wrote 5 years. So you see, which one do we take? Is it the law, the provision of the law, or the letter of appointment? So a good drafter needs to clear these doubts. Yes, your hand is raised. Hannah, is this about a question or something? Hello, your hand is raised. Madam Hannah, you can go ahead. Unmute your mic.
No, sir, it was from the previous, my
Oh,
response to the
okay, okay.
questions.
Then, Madam Anino, your hand was raised. Please, can you?
Yes, sir. I had also wanted to give an example, read our own act.
Okay. The chief
Yes.
executive, what is the qualification?
Okay. There shall, on the recommendations of the Attorney General of the Federation, be appointed by the President a Director General of the Legal Aid Council, who shall be the Chief Executive Officer of the Council, who shall be responsible for the day-to-day management of the human, financial, and material resources in accordance with this Act. Subsection 2 says a person shall not be qualified to hold or perform the functions of the office of the Director General unless he is a legal practitioner of
Mhm.
not less than 10 years standing. 3. They shall be paid to the Director General such salary and allowances as may be determined by the Council with the approval of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission,
Mhm.
provided that such salary and allowances are not less than those payable to the Director General of any ministry of the Government of the Federation. It goes on, okay. Then subsection 4, sub 4, there shall be appointed from time to time by the council such supporting legal and other staffers. I think that is all that has been
Yes.
provided.
If you read our chat box under section B of administrative provision, it says the chief executive officers and principal staff. So their mode of appointment and termination of their appointment.
Okay, but there doesn't seem to be any
Principal staff.
well, state offices. No, it talks about the structure, the departments and units that
No
should be
problem. No
established
problem.
under it.
That's
Yes.
all right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. Peter Libby, you have something?
Yes, Professor, thank you. On the same act, Communications Act of 2012, the Lesotho Communications Act, Section 13 provides for the Office of the Chief Executive Officer. And I realized that under subsection 6, Section 13, subsection 6, it reads as follows. The minister shall appoint a candidate who has professional training, skills, or experience to perform the functions of the chief executive officers. But those professional training are not specified.
That's a problem. That's bad drafting. You need to specify the level of qualification, like the Data Protection Act that was read. They specify certification in data protection. Then sub B says a degree in accounting, law, or it mentioned the areas the person must come from. So you cannot just say, so now who determines that the person is qualified?
In terms of,
And
okay. In terms of the same
the qualification is not listed there. Still check around the act whether there's any other qualifications.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Let's go to D, procedures for meetings of the governing board. Can anybody look for any legislation that provides for the procedure for meetings of the governing board? The general rule is that meetings are 4 times a year, but you have to put it in writing. You can't just say they will know. No. Can anybody get any law? Umaru Hannah, your hand is raised. Is it from this one or? Yes. Kanui.
Okay, so section 16, the heading is entitled Meetings of the Committee. A meeting of the committee shall be held at least after every 3 months a year. Subsection 2 reads that the chairperson, or in his absence, the deputy chairperson, shall A, convene a meeting and preside, and B, on a request for a meeting signed by not less than 1/3 of the total number of members of the committee, convene a special meeting. Subsection 3. Oh, thank you.
No, go ahead. Let's see. What does sub
Okay.
3?
Subsection 3 reads, the minister may appoint any person who has expertise or knowledge on any issues discussed by the committee to attend a meeting, but the person shall only deliberate on the issues and is not entitled to vote. Subsection 4, the quorum at meetings of the committee shall be 1/4 of each constituency, excluding the expert and the chairperson. That's it. That's it, sir.
Good, good. So it says the chairman or the deputy shall call a meeting. Okay. In other jurisdictions, it is the chairman shall direct the secretary to issue a notice for a meeting. But this is also good because apart from the chairman convening the meeting, a quorum of members can also request for a meeting. So that's good. But all these procedures, if they are too lengthy, you can create a schedule to section 3 and write out the procedure for board meetings. Very important. Okay, so look at our chat box. Oscar has posted, we have a YouTube channel. Those that have missed lectures, you can watch lectures from day 1 till today is the 30th day. So we are halfway through this course. You can watch, even the materials are posted on our YouTube channel. So that those who missed lectures, you can go back and watch. You can ask your colleagues for materials because the materials are also posted on our WhatsApp group. Okay, that's good. I'm
Thank
happy
you, sir.
we enjoy it. Now let's look at functions of the supervising minister. Every agency has to be under the supervision of one minister. So, yes, somebody else. Yes, Umaru Hana, can you share with us a law that
Okay, no.
has supervising minister?
So mine is more like a question, sir, not
Okay,
so
okay.
under the there's a slight difference here under the Nigerian Data Protection Act. So I think the National Commissioner doubles as the secretary. So I don't know what the
For the
implication
board,
could be. The
right?
implication.
The board
Yes,
has a
sir.
secretary.
No, the National Commissioner doubles as the secretary of the board. So I don't understand the
Yes,
implication of this.
that's
So I
the
don't know if
practice.
I'm reading.
That's the practice. Whoever is the chief
Okay.
executive officer becomes the secretary of the board. That's the practice
All right, sir.
as a general rule. All right, so let's see functions of the supervising minister. Can anybody give us any law with the functions of the supervising minister? It has to be specified. By, I think, 10 minutes we should be done. Okay. All right. Umaru Hannah, you're raising your hand. You want to read a law with the functions of supervising minister. Go ahead. Who wants to take that? Who wants to look for a law that has minister? Yes. Umaru, yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right, sir. I have with me the
Yes.
Nigerian Communication Section 23 provision of the general policy for the communication sector in Nigeria, with a view to ensuring, amongst others, the utilization of the sector as a platform for the economic and social development of Nigeria. B, the negotiation and execution of international communications treaties and agreements on behalf of Nigeria between sovereign countries and international organizations and bodies. Then subsection C says the representation of Nigeria in conjunction with the Commission at proceedings of international organizations and for on matters relating to communication.
Okay, section
So
23.
that's for the supervising minister, section 23 of the NPC Act.
Okay.
These are the functions of the supervising minister.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well done. Okay, so let's go to the why do we have to specify the functions of the minister? Why don't we just say the minister shall supervise this agency? Why do we have to specify? Yes, Libby.
Thank you, Prof. I believe it's for the purposes of avoiding the situation where the minister act outside his given powers.
Good. So absolute power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. If you just say minister, go and supervise somebody, you did not delineate the scope of that supervision. The minister can wake up one morning and say, in fact, where was it? In South Africa, a minister was telling, is it South Africa or Mozambique? Mozambique, go and read the news, that the lady, whether her nails, the color of her nails or underwear, the minister sacked somebody for not obeying her. The parliament said, no, you cannot sack somebody. That's not the scope of your power as a minister, because your secretary does not wear nails that you like. So you have to specify these things. If not, people can abuse power. So the scope of the minister, how many times should the minister visit conduct oversight on the agency? It has to be specified. If not, Some ministers are in the habit of interfering with the day-to-day running of an agency. No, the law has to say the supervision shall be 4 times a year. The minister shall have audience 4 times a year. You cannot just tell the minister, oh, supervise. Yes, Lily.
Thank you, Professor. In respect of in respect of functions of the supervising minister, I checked the act, the Communication Act, and identified section 10, section 14, section 55, and section 56. On section 10, this is where the minister, it says where the minister shall appoint and may remove the chairperson of the board in the same manner as other members. And section 14, okay, section 10 is about the removal, the appointment and removal of the chairman of the board. It can be done by the minister. And section 14 says removal of the chief executive officer. The minister shall remove the chief executive officer if, then it goes on from
there are conditions for removal. You cannot just go and remove him.
Yes, there are 2 conditions. A is okay, if requested by the board through a recommendation justifying such removal, or B, the chief executive officer materially breaches the retention agreement specified in section 13, subsection 8.
Good.
Those are, and section 55 also, let me quickly scroll down to section 55. Section 55. Okay, regulations. It says, subsection 1, the minister may, by notice published in the Gazette and after consultation with the authority, make regulations for the carrying into effect of the provisions of this act. Subsection 2, without derogating from the generality of subsection 1, the minister may make regulations for, or it's A up to I. The minister may make regulation for A, regulatory principles for the guidance of the authority in the performance of its function, the records of the authority, B, that is B. C, the administrative procedures of the authority. D, authorization to provide communication services, licenses, use of radio frequencies, spectrum usage.
It's okay. You made the point. Okay. The power of the minister, you have to delineate. You have to, it's not blanket discretion. Anytime he wakes up, he just sack. There are conditions under which a CEO can be sacked by the minister. And even after you say he can sack him, there's a provision for how do you appeal. In our country, if the minister sacks you, you can appeal to the president. So there's provision for that in the law. If you feel that the termination is bad. Now, remember why we also said this, the functions of the minister. To check the functions of the power of the minister, you have the parliament, subject to, or the president. The minister can give you a letter of sack, but the president has to agree with the minister before approving the sack termination. So these are devices as a drafter you put to check corruption, because corruption is not only stealing money. Corruption is also the ability to remove somebody who you disagree with, an upright person. If you don't create the law to protect an upright person, a corrupt minister may try to force the CEO to do something bad. If the CEO says no, then he sacks him. No, you should not give the minister such power, life and death, to sack at will. The power to sack must be regulated in the law. So do not assume that the minister is a level-headed person. He will be a good person. No. You have to create the circumstance. All right. Then we also have the financial provisions. Very important. This should be drafted very well because uh, every agency they submit every September. You have to submit your annual statement to the parliament for them to look at. So under financial provisions, you should write very clearly. Oscar, your hand was up.
Yes, Prof. I wanted to read from the Nigerian Police Service Commission Act 2001, the financial provisions in section 12 to 17. So, just like you said, it lays out how the reports will be given to the president. And the section 12.1 is talking about how the commission will raise its funds. It says the commission shall establish and manage a fund from which shall be defrayed all expenditure incurred by the commission.
Very
So
good.
and then
Now look at that financial provisions. The annual report it goes to the president, not to the National Assembly, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Then power to accept gifts. What?
that's in section 14.
Read
The
it out.
commission may accept gifts of land, money, or other property on such terms and conditions, if any, as may be specified by the person or organization making the gift. The commission shall not accept any gift if the conditions attached thereof are inconsistent with the functions of the commission under this act.
Okay, good. So those things have to be clearly written because somebody who may have a conflict of interest cannot give gifts to the commission because that gift would alter, especially for anti-corruption agencies. They do not accept gifts on such terms from somebody who has a case before them. So this has to be written in the law. You cannot leave it to chance and say, oh, they will know what to do. No. Under your financial provisions, you have to specify all these things clearly. Now check that financial provisions. Does it say the timing? When will the commission submit the annual report to the president?
Yes, it says here in section 15, it says the commission shall not
When?
later than 30th September in each year submit to the president an estimate of the expenditure and income of the commission.
Do you know the reason why it is always 30th September? Who knows the reason? A time has to be specified. You cannot say they should submit to the president or the parliament annual report. The time has to be stated. Who knows the reason why? There has to be a time for submission of your annual financial reports. Who knows the reason? It has to be specified in writing, not just, oh, yes, who is raising their hand? Yes, Umaru, Hannah.
All right, sir. From my little knowledge, I think it's usually specified as there's usually a specific date because um, every agency of the government, there is a specific time whereby they have to exhaust the budget for that year. And if they don't exhaust their budget for that year, it will be rolled over back to the federation's account. So that's the
Okay,
reason why they have to, yes, that's the little knowledge I have. That's the reason why they usually specify the time within which they have to submit their report to know what they've expended for that year and probably what they have left. So
Good.
peradventure, they're unable to, cover up or spend all they have. That's why I feel like they're always hosting.
No, you have answered the question, but let me say this. The reason is the budget is submitted to National
One programs
Assembly.
or the other, just to be able to accumulate a lot of experience.
Good, good. For the purpose of the annual budget, if you check the laws of Lesotho, the annual budget ends 31st of March. So submission of annual report has to be 3 months before March. That's January. The reason is the Minister of Finance has to prepare the entire budget, which he has to submit before the end of the financial year. So it's very important. Those timelines, they are sacrosanct. You have to comply with them. Because if you delay submitting before 30th September, that means the budget of your agency will not enter the national budget. That's the danger. So you must bear this when drafting financial provisions. You must always provide that timeline. Very important. So on that note, we're going to end for today's lecture. Next week, we'll continue with miscellaneous and supplementary provision. That one is even longer than these principal provisions. Miscellaneous and supplementary. Notice the word supplementary provisions. Miscellaneous, supplementary, addition to the principal provisions. So next week we'll continue that. All right. So let's call it a day. Thank you for attending. So we continue by Monday next week. Over the weekend, I've already posted the assignment. The assignment is take a copy of the Widowhood Leave Bill 2023. It's been posted. There are missing components. Preliminary provisions are missing. Principal provisions are missing. Insert those missing provisions, draft them, add them. So once you add them, your table of contents will change, the bill will change, the structure. Use this weekend to add preliminary and principal provision to that bill so that you learn as you're drafting. Look at existing laws, the language of the law, draft it like that. As you do it, you're improving your drafting skills. All right, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.